You know, I think the only people who like surprises are those people who are giving the surprise. I mean, think about it. At Christmas, we like to surprise people with gifts, but people are around the tree shaking the present, trying to figure out what it is. I'll never forget a few years ago when our son was real young. He was peeking around where we had had some presents hidden, and we had got him a remote control four-wheel drive truck. Well, he came up to his mother later and says, "Mommy, I think I want a remote control car." And my wife, being very perceptive, realized that he had found it and said, "Well, what do you want? A car or a truck?" And he went, I think I'll have a truck. You see, we like to find out what happens, but what happens when we find out the surprise, it's not as great as it was as when we were genuinely surprised. You know, in John chapter 11, there's a story about a friend of Jesus named Lazarus. And Lazarus was sick, and Jesus got word of that. And it says that the disciples told Jesus about this. And in John chapter 11, verse 4, it says, "When he heard this, Jesus said, 'The sickness will not end to death. No, it is for God's glory, so that the Son of Man may be glorified through it.'" And Jesus waited several more days, and it was 4 days after he had passed away. How disheartening that must have been to all the people around. But what would have happened had Jesus had just healed him right away? We would have missed out on one of the greatest miracles ever. The fact that Jesus brought someone who had been dead for 4 days. You see, in our own lives, it's like that many times. We want God to answer our prayers immediately. And when we go through difficult stretches where it doesn't seem like He's answering it, we get antsy. But when we allow Christ to live through us, we see things that are amazing. We see God do things that only God can do. And over the last few weeks and months, I've seen God do things that I couldn't have done on my own. And I believe that's the way God wants it to be. What do you think?